Hey guys, welcome back. Thanks for joining me again for another video. I want to definitely give such a big hug and kudos to everyone. I mean, we're almost at 13,000 subscribers, which is absolutely crazy. The channel's growing so fast. I mean, you guys, the comments and the questions, it's absolutely amazing. And I do apologize if I cannot get to every single person because now it's actually starting to get a little overwhelming, but I really do try to comment to everyone or just even acknowledge that I'm reading, your lovely comments that you guys are leaving me. So please, please keep them coming. I definitely appreciate it. I'm also going to put a poll up this week because I would love your feedback. So this channel is growing really fast and I'm actually now at a point where I can do YouTube lives. And I was thinking that it might be a great opportunity to start doing some YouTube lives with you guys if you are interested. So what I was thinking is to maybe start off doing just one a week or maybe one every other week, and we'll go over the last video that I made or the video before that. I don't know how often I would do them yet, but I just want to get your feedback if you guys are interested in me doing these things. And I'll kind of give like a really brief recap of the video, but more specifically, I wanted to do the YouTube lives because you guys are sending me so many questions either on social media or on YouTube, and I want to start answering them for you and really giving you that like one-on-one feedback. So if you guys are interested, definitely, I'm gonna put the poll over here, wherever. If you can just click it and let me know your thoughts, I would really, really appreciate it. For this week's video, I wanna talk about something that is super important when we're going through our recovery from narcissistic abuse. And most people have gone through this where they're educating themselves on, narcissistic personality disorder, and they need to label it and they need to name it, and it just helps them to make sense of what they had just been through with their ex-partner or current partner. And all of a sudden this obsession begins with the fear that everyone is narcissistic. So now we have learned, okay, I now know what narcissistic personality disorder is, and everyone is labeling everyone as a narcissist. So, your ex-boyfriend or ex-wife or whoever, your current wife or husband, does a couple of these traits and all of a sudden, boom, they're a narcissist, and that Susie down the street's a narcissist, and the girl at work, she's a narcissist, and we just become kind of obsessed with this instead of really understanding what is this fear of me thinking everyone is narcissistic. So in this video, I want to go over why we tend to have this fear when we're getting out of a narcissistically abusive relationship. Now, before I even get started in the video, I just want everyone to know that this stuff is so common. It happens all the time where we become obsessed. And even on YouTube, I mean, the people that are talking about narcissism right now is crazy. And it's like, it's everywhere. And on one hand, I think it's an absolutely great thing because we're educating ourselves, and for so many years we were probably emotionally abused or narcissistically abused, and we didn't know it. We just kind of took it. And I think, educating yourself 100% helps. But I do think that we're getting to a point now where we're labeling everyone as narcissists. We think everyone is narcissistic, and we all have to understand that narcissistic personality disorder is a spectrum. So even for me, sometimes I know in my past when I've used, this person's narcissistic or whatever, I try to be mindful of what I'm saying. And I usually say they tend to be narcissistic. I see a lot of narcissistic traits because I cannot diagnose anyone. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a therapist. I'm a life coach. I'm very well educated on the topic through my own personal experience and just reading and watching videos from other therapists and things of that sort. But I'm in no way, shape, or form to diagnose anyone. So I get a lot of comments and questions that'll say, my ex-wife does this, this, and this. Would you consider this a narcissist? And some of the traits, yeah, they're narcissistic, but is this person a full-blown narcissist with a personality disorder? I have absolutely no idea. And to be honest, it's really irrelevant whether or not someone is a full-blown narcissist on the verge of being a sociopath, etc., or someone that just maybe has some traits that are don't get me wrong, narcissistic, emotionally abusive, and unhealthy. I mean, we have to be able to distinguish between the two. And regardless, it just doesn't matter. The point of this is to educate yourself so you can be aware of things, so you can learn how to protect yourself from abuse. So one of the number one reasons why most people, when they're coming out of these relationships, regardless of how the relationship was, how it ended, the dynamics of the relationship, it really just doesn't matter. When people are coming out of it, 9 times out of 10, of course it feels better when we hear from other people, oh, you went through that, I went through that too, and like that sounds so similar, and people feel better, or they feel less pressure on the situation, and it kind of helps them to start healing and moving forward if they can make logical sense out of things. But the biggest reason why we tend to have this fear once we start learning about narcissism, that everyone is a narcissist, is because we have a fear of being hurt. So when we have been in this relationship with this narcissist, this was an abusive relationship. You know, we probably have post-traumatic stress. Like this is not a normal relationship in any way, shape, or form. And it doesn't matter if it's someone with a couple of traits that was really emotionally abusive or someone that was completely, I don't even know what words to say, just toxic, unhealthy, harassing, bullying, like to the 10th degree. It doesn't matter that these things happen in the relationship. In our minds now, we have been through something that is traumatic. So just like going to war and people come back from war and they have post-traumatic stress, when you've been in a long-term relationship with someone that is narcissistic or someone that just has narcissistic traits, a lot of them, or is completely emotionally abusive, a very unhealthy, not stable person, it is going to affect you. It's going to affect you emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically. I mean, it's just going to. And that's why the recovery period is so long. So because you went through this traumatic event, you're going to have a fear of not wanting to be in that situation again. Of course, that's completely normal. Where that fear starts to debilitate you is when you're trying to protect yourself so much that you then think everyone is like that. This is the every person once a cheater, always a cheater, or I was so damaged in this relationship that now like I have got the thickest wall that's up and no one's gonna get through that wall because I have been hurt and bruised and gone through hell and back, and now I'm in a good place and I don't want that to ever happen to me again. And so because we have this way of thinking, it creates these barriers that then make us feel like everyone is toxic, everyone is emotionally abusive. It almost becomes so overwhelming that you can't sometimes see the good in people, or that there are great men out there or healthy women out there, good women and good girls. We just automatically think the worst of people because we've been through something that is so unbelievably traumatic. And if anyone's watching this that has never been in an emotionally abusive or narcissistic relationship, you really and truly will not understand what I'm talking about. This is on like a whole nother level of breakup recovery, because it's such an abusive relationship on such a psychological level that, I mean, the manipulation and the mind games and the guilt and the shame and all of that stuff, the gaslighting, just everything, it messes with you. It truly does. And it takes a while to go through the recovery process and to learn how to love yourself and not second guess yourself and learn how to set boundaries with people and all of these things that I talk about in all of my videos. But really trying to protect yourself from being hurt is one of the number one reasons why you will tend to fear that everyone is narcissistic. The next thing is you haven't learned how to trust yourself. So when we're going through, a narcissistically abusive recovery, right? We've ended this relationship, now we're in recovery and we're not dating anyone, we're just focusing on ourselves. We have to really learn almost all over how to trust ourselves again, because there's a part of us that didn't listen to those red flags and, we overlooked them in the beginning of that relationship. And learning how to trust yourself is absolutely huge, because when you fully are in a good place, you've healed from that last relationship and you're in recovery and you're doing great, and you really learn how to trust yourself, you know that while, of course, there might be a little part of you that is hesitant with new people, whether that's someone, when you start dating again, or new friends, or whatever the situation is for you, that where you feel the most vulnerable, where you feel that everyone's a narcissist. Maybe it's just when you're dating and you're meeting new men or meeting new women, and it's like, oh, red flag, here we go, that person's a little narcissistic or whatever. Learning how to trust your intuition is absolutely huge. It's just absolutely huge. And you will not think so many people are narcissistic, and you won't jump to these like extreme conclusions when you are just getting to know a person, when you learn how to trust yourself, because that means that I can be vulnerable with people. I can let people in. I don't have to have these walls up or anything like that. I can have a healthy wall up, right? And not give myself to someone too soon, but I don't have to have a brick wall, right? I can just have a little fence that's up that says, okay, I don't really know you yet, and this is all healthy stuff. This isn't because of what I've been through. This is just healthy dating, and healthy, getting to know people is giving little bits of myself at a time to someone, but also trusting that when I see something in someone else that now I know is completely unhealthy, and I don't feel good about myself when I'm around this person, I trust that. And I know for me, that was something that was really, really huge. When I began to really trust myself, I didn't have that fear anymore. I didn't fear meeting new people or dating or doing any of that stuff. I didn't think all men suck, or, for men out there, like all women are gold diggers or cheaters or whatever. I just didn't think that anymore. I just took everything that I got at face value, and I didn't judge anyone. I just waited for them to show me who they were. And when I started seeing some things that I was like, you know what, that doesn't add up right, and that doesn't feel good for me. That's not what I'm in alignment with. Then I knew to kind of just, okay, you're not really right for me. I trusted my intuition. I trusted my judgment. And when you have that way of thinking, you won't go out there thinking everyone is a narcissist. You'll know that, yes, of course, there are narcissistic people out there. Of course, there are emotional abusers out there. There are a lot of unhealthy people out there, but there's also a lot of really, really good people. And when we don't have that way of thinking, when we think everyone is awful, then that's unfortunately what you're going to always be attracting. Emotional maturity is being able to say that while, yes, there are definitely unhealthy people in the world, but there are also people that are perfectly healthy and are not narcissistic and are not, emotionally abusive, and know how to have adult communication and don't behave like a 3-year-old when they don't get their way, or they don't use guilt and shame. They don't bully. They're not passive aggressive when something, doesn't go their way, or someone says something that they don't like. They handle things in an emotionally immature way. And I think when you get to that place where you start to become emotionally mature, it kind of ties into what I just said. You'll learn to trust yourself. You'll learn to know when someone is giving you a blatant red flag. And the last thing is, a lot of the time when we have this fear that everyone is narcissistic, when we're going on dates and we just think that everyone sucks right off the bat, it's really because you haven't fully healed. You haven't really sat with what has happened, what you've gone through, really accepted it and surrendered to it, forgiven yourself for maybe not seeing those red flags early on that now you see or were as clear as day, but at the time you didn't. Working on yourself and really learning how to love yourself will allow you to fully heal from that past relationship. When we don't want to acknowledge what happened in that last relationship, or more importantly, how it made us feel, how mad we are at ourselves maybe for dealing with what we dealt with, or for not standing up for ourselves when we know we should have, or not leaving as soon as we should have. I hear a lot of that from clients, just this like shame of, I took this person back so many times, and you can just, I can hear it like in their voice that they just feel such shame for the fact that they haven't stood up for themselves, that they weren't in a place where they said, okay, I'm not going to deal with this anymore, and they just up and left. This isn't easy stuff to do, to just leave someone that you love. And I'm definitely going to talk about this in another video because I think it's really, really important, is learning how to, leave someone that you're still in love with. It doesn't matter if this person's abusive, unhealthy. We can't choose who we fall in love with, and that's why they say love is blind. So if love is blind and it makes us so vulnerable to another person, then yeah, there are going to be times where if we don't catch things in the very beginning, we're definitely not going to see them in the middle of our relationship or even towards the end of the relationship. There's just something that happens where just something clicks and someone just says, okay, I'm done. And I always used to say this to friends and family: when you're done, you're done. And if a girlfriend ever came to me and said, I'm going to take him back or whatever, I would never judge her. I would just say, okay, and then you're not done, and that's okay. Like, you go back to the relationship and you have to just figure it out. That's just life. So I hope that this has helped you guys kind of clear up a few things on why maybe you're getting this fear that everyone is narcissistic, or why you're starting to have this obsession with narcissism. It's all perfectly normal to be inquisitive and want to learn these things. It definitely helps make sense of things, logical sense of what you've been through. It makes you feel not so alone when you hear that other people have gone through what you've been through. I definitely think watching videos and educating yourself is 100% important. It's what I did. But I also think that aside from the logical aspect, the educating ourselves, there's the emotional, and we have to sit in what happened to us. We have to feel what happened to us. We have to learn how to parent ourselves. We have to learn how to forgive ourselves. And when we learn how to really start loving ourselves, we can do all that. We can forgive ourselves for not knowing what we know now. And that fear that everyone is narcissistic, and this paranoia that, oh my God, I'm going to attract this all over again. Like, what am I going to do if I attract another narcissist? Like, as long as you trust your intuition, as long as you know how to love yourself and you know how to have boundaries and you know what your standards are, it's really impossible that would ever happen to you again. So again, I hope that this has helped you guys out there. Please give this video a thumbs up if you like it. Don't forget to leave any comments or questions down below. And if any of you are interested in doing one-on-one coaching with me, I will link all of that information down below, and you can definitely send me an email and we can get started. So thank you guys again, and I will see you next week.